Just a friendly announcement, this is not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong. It's described on page 64 of the big book and the solutions contained within. This is not an all-share meeting. Those shares there will be, but actually a question and answer meeting with Paul. Okay, that takes care of that. And today I do have a reading. It's kind of long, but it encompasses a whole thought, so I didn't want to cut it off in just paragraphs. And it starts on page 66, Paul.
All right.
And it's the first full paragraph on page 66. It starts, "It is plain that life." If you guys want to follow along, it's going to go from page 66 to page 67. Okay, page 66. "It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns, and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for the alcoholic, these things are poison. We turned back to our list, for it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. How could we escape? We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way they disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, "This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done." We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though the situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set those matters straight. Give us something to think about. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Mike. So basically, we're looking at the list, the inventory and stuff. So where are we? It is a plain a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and happiness. Can we all agree on that? Yeah. Through experience, we agree. Yeah. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and happiness. Deep resentment has to be accompanied by the word my, for sure. Yeah. The only way a resentment can get deep into our lives is by calling it ours. Have you noticed that my resentment can last for years? When the bloom of resentment is like a flower that only blooms for like a couple of hours, we have to keep it open by calling it my, yeah? Yeah. So a deep resentment is my resentment. Yeah. So to the precise extent that we permit these, wow. So basically something happening, and how are we permitting it without knowing it? Yeah. We permit it by taking it to be ours. Yeah. And then it expresses itself through our life. And the story from self is it's you. They're your manifestations. Now, when the head says, this is my resentment, it's being truthful. It is the head's resentment. Does that mean it's your resentment? Yeah. When the head's talking to you about, I hate that person, maybe the self hates that person. Yeah. But does that mean you hate that person? Yeah. Or do you permit its hate to be your hate? By ignorance. Without knowing it, in the act of being identified as self, we take its opinions and tendencies and outbursts as ours. Yes or no? You do. Do you see that what has defeated you as foreign to you? I hope so. Because if it's constantly seen as you, then it's you defeating you. Where is there going to be a third you to get out of that? Yeah. So to the precise extent that we permit these, so basically we are like a large bit of space and we permit something to take over a large bit of that space. And now we're filled with the manifestations of self and we call them ours. We're experiencing fear, but it's produced by mental anxiety. We're having grievances, but those are manifestations of self. So basically, we've permitted self to use our life to express itself through. Literally, yeah. If you use that word permit, it means something. It's a very important word. Permit, you've given consent, so to speak, without knowing it, yeah? You're permitting something to happen. And who would ever do that unless we didn't know it was happening? So for me, the real activity of the disease or the problem is the act of being identified with it, yeah? Now, everything we listen to in the head, the memories represent its opinions, its perceptions, all are rooted in the act of being identified as self. Yeah. So if you're religiously devoted to the head, if you trust finite self, you're in the act of being identified as self. That's just the way it goes. Yeah. That's the diagnosis we're humbly presenting here. Check it out. I'm not saying it's true or not. Just why don't you find out? Yeah. Why don't you look at what's leading you instead of being led by it? Yeah. Why not? Something is leading you, something is using you, and it's not treating you well. Why not take a look? If you see its nature is foreign to you, the possibility of being free from it becomes available. It is. That's the only way it worked for me. When I saw self meaning something other than me, suddenly the possibility of being free from it became available. Yeah. And it told me I had been trying to be free as it, which is captured by our great statement in our community, self can't get out of self. Yet self does not believe that. Self believes it can get out of self. And it will take you on great lengths to do that. Yeah. And we keep on keeping going back to the same trough and drinking from the same well. Yeah. Because without knowing us, we've given it permission to interpret our life, to direct our life, to use us. And it's called the old employer. Yeah. And to employ means to use in English, one of the definitions. So an employer is using something that's being employed. We are not the employer. We are the employed. Yeah. We are being used. And we have given permission for this thing to use our life to express itself through. That's why our unique personal expressions seem very similar at an AA meeting. Yeah. Because basically everyone's having the same thoughts, reacting the same fucking way, and doing the same crazy shit. Yeah. It's like, are you driven crazy uniquely? No. You may think you're terminally unique. Go to a meeting. Yeah. People who you don't like, don't look like you never hang out with, sound just like you. Their thought sounds like yours, their feelings sounds like yours, and their actions look like yours. Aren't you curious about that? Don't you see something there? Yeah. We're like a Ford model car that thinks it's unique from every Ford model car. And when it ends up in the three same parking spaces with all the other Fords, institution, jails, and death, it's completely surprised. I'm so sure that I'm different. How can I be at the same place these other Fords are? Because you're not different. Yes? Something the that which is foreign to us isn't a zillion foreign things. It's one foreign thing. It's a mental program. It's a systemic mental activity that has a parasitical nature. It has taken over you. Yeah. To the point that some of us hate ourselves. That's insane. You know, some of us, honestly, it looks like you're your own worst enemy. I don't think you're going to be happy, joyous, and free waking up in that condition every day. The thing that you wake up as is your own worst enemy. That's insane. Yeah. I hate myself. I do not believe you do. I believe something hates you, maybe. It doesn't hate you, it just doesn't care. Yeah. And we used it the other day. If you ever surfed or did anything, let's say you're riding a bike, maybe the bike's basically worth $200, and you start going off the edge. Yeah. What do you try to save? You or the bike? Probably the bike. Yeah. You come out of Starbucks, you got your frap or whatever, vanilla frap, and then you start falling. What do you try to save? Your knees or the Starbucks coffee? Probably the coffee. Yeah. Something has revealed its value system to you at that moment. Do you like the information? Do you like the message? When I used to surf, I would try to save the board from the waves while I got whacked on the rocks. Yeah. I would try to save the board at all costs, and I was the cost. I would hit the rocks, but I saved my $200 board. So you're not even worth $200 to the head that's talking to you all day. These are the most revealing moments when you really see the value system that you're living under. Yeah. Its value in you is to use you. Yeah. It thinks so many other things that it can own is much more valuable than you. Yeah. So, but with the alcoholic whose hope is the, wait a minute, yeah, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience. Give that hope into this program, and voila, yeah, you're going to get results. This business of resentment is infinitely grave, infinitely grave. Wow. I've taken some things very gravely, but not infinitely grave. This is beyond my usual scope. Infinitely grave must be very important. Yeah. Oh yeah. We found that it is fatal. Wow. So if I permit this thing to keep manifesting in me, and I'm the incubator for its little babies called resentment and fear, and I'm keeping the resentment and fear cooking and keeping it warm so it can grow and take over. Yeah. I'm like the fucking, what do you call that? It's like the guys, the people in the pods in the Matrix. Yeah. The only value you have is the energy that's being extracted from you to run this fucking mental dream. Yeah. Oh. So, for when harboring such feelings, yes, that's another thing. That's quite different. Yeah. Having a feeling isn't harboring a feeling. Harboring a feeling is like giving it shelter. Like, all right, come on in, get cozy and grow. Yes. So basically, we're like an incubator of resentment and fear, aren't we? Literally. It throws it up like spaghetti on the wall in the head, and if we react, which most of us do, there it goes. Something gets manufactured, a resentment and a fear out of mental anxiety, and then you and I are the incubator, and it grows in us, yeah? And we talk about it to other people it's growing in, and they assure us we were right about how wrong the other person was, and we assure them how right they are about how wrong the other person was. And then we're just incubating all the fucking day till you have my resentment. Wow. The excuse for all my failings, my whole life. It's like a golden calf that you've been idolizing. Your head worships this shit. It does. It has no intention of giving up a resentment. That's how it grows. It grows through its manifestations. Yeah. It needs you as the incubator. So we're permitting it without knowing it. We're harboring it. Yeah. We're harboring that which is going to defeat us. Isn't that amazing? He uses the word harboring. Yeah. It says right here, for when harboring such feelings, that's not feeling such feelings. Harboring is something else. Yes. We're giving something shelter. We're letting something come in and stay. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Wow. So if the resentment is shutting ourselves off, I don't agree with this because I believe the disease is shutting you off from the sunlight of Spirit. I do not believe you are shutting yourself off from the sunlight of the Spirit. I do not believe, because if resentment is what's shutting you off from the sunlight of the Spirit, and you trace the origin of the resentment, it is not of you. So this is not a correct sentence. You are not blocking yourself off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Something that's being harbored in you, that's being incubated in you, that's being allowed to grow in you is what's blocking you off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Fantastic. Because if it's foreign to you, it can be removed. You can outgrow it. Yes? What are you going to do with you if you are what's blocking you from the sunlight of the Spirit? What the hell are you going to do? It's like, yeah, you see someone's head is blocking the movie and it's obstructing you to see the movie, but it's your head. Yeah. How do you sit down when you tell your head to sit down? I don't see it. I think we're powerless over what the head wants to do in most cases. Yes. So we're yelling, sit down. I can't see. It's loving it. Yeah. The head even gets bigger. And then some resentments occur. Then you get kicked out of the theater. Fuck. The insanity, all right, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight spirit. Don't you feel you may be in that condition right now? Don't you feel that you are like a marina for the manifestations of self? We're harboring these conditions and we're in a state of being blocked off from the sunlight of the spirit, which is like being blocked off from the sun for a plant. This isn't just like a hypothetical equation. This is about looking at it. See, are you in somewhat of this condition? Yeah. Is what you call your space being used to harbor manifestations of a foreign nature? And are you at a point where you have to go to the worship services because the head worships this shit and you think you're the head? Have you ever gone to church when you don't want to be there? So it's time, brothers and sisters, let's remember our resentments and our grievances. Let's pour upon them all our attention and interest, and let's sob together and point our crooked finger to the real foe without. That yell it out loud. The employer, your significant other, da 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 da. Yes. Let it out. Let it out. Jesus Christ. You're walking with like fucking self babies in us, like an incubator, just ready to pop out. Oh, here, resentment, come to me. Let me feed you with the my, and you'll be big and strong for 60 years. I'll even have a whole generational vendetta towards the enemy. I'm a Clampett or whatever the other family was. So, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. Okay? You want to be in the sunlight of the spirit? Stop harboring these feelings. How are you going to stop harboring these feelings? First of all, see them as not yours. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. Wow. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. Have you ever someone was on your ass in the highway really close for too long, and then you want to do it to them? And then usually shit hits the fan. I learned the hard way. I don't have the luxury to entertain this shit. If I do, I go to jail. I do. Things will happen. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't out of virtue. It was fucking wisdom and pragmatism. I can't fucking act out. If I do, there's consequences. Other people may be able to escape those consequences. I found that I couldn't escape, that actually I motivated the whole consequence. So basically, thank God this program has subdued that aspect. Yes? Yes. All right, so we turn back to the list, and that's obviously your fourth step. Yeah. For it held the key to the future. We were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We are trying to share with this a different angle too. Why not look at what has defeated you as something foreign to you? Yeah. You're a resentment incubator. You are not a resentment machine. You don't make resentments. You harbor resentments. The head makes the resentment and you harbor it. Yeah. The head comes up with the whole story and then you incubate it and keep it going. You're like a surrogate mother, so to speak, for the manifestations of self. Yeah. You're giving litters every fucking couple of months. Cook up another resentment. Yeah. I feel this description is exactly what's going on. Permitting and harboring have a certain connotation. Yeah. If you read it, if you know English, permitting is sort of giving consent. Yes. So something that doesn't have to happen, you allow to happen. You permit it. Okay. Or that which is happening that you're permitting isn't you. Yeah. Like you permit someone else treating another person bad because you don't want to deal with the confrontation. Yeah. Harboring means you give something shelter. You let it come in and basically put the anchor down. Yeah. And stay. So when you're harboring resentment, it means it may not be active at that moment, but it's sitting in your little marina. Yeah. Ready to roll at any time. Yeah. Permit and harbor. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. Yes. So we turn back to the list, for it held the key to the future. You know, when you do the inventory, and after you get to the third step, then you stop and you apply this thing before you look at your role in things. You look at, for a little bit of time, you look at other people's role in things and you ask, you forgive them. Yes. And then you look at your role in things, which is the primary point of the inventory. And to me, the real primary point is to see the parasite's role in things by looking at your role in things. Yeah. But this is basically the step we do, or the attitude we take before we jump into the fourth column of looking at our role in things. So we see we were prepared to look at it from an entirely different angle. We began to see that the world and its people really dominated us. In that state, the wrongdoings of others. Have you ever, happens a lot. Did you ever know someone that was having trouble with alcohol and drugs, and yet their condition was really based on their kids' condition? So one of my friends, every one of his kids was in a rehab. Yeah. And when you talk to him, you weren't talking about his condition. His condition was based on his kids' condition. If they were going bad, he was bad. Yeah. So basically, it would have been more important to talk to the kids than him. Yeah. So in a sense, this is giving the world domination over you in a way. Yes. In that state, the wrongdoings of others, fancied or real, had power to actually kill. Yeah. If I depend and rely on you taking care of me, that may fail. Yeah. If I find reliance in a higher power, I have a feeling you're going to be assured of being okay. You can't put a ton of shit in a half-ton pickup. That pickup can't do it. Yeah. I can't make another person the higher power. It's inevitably going to have to fail so that mistake can be corrected. Yeah. Yeah. How could we escape? Yeah. We saw that these resentments must be mastered, but how? I'm telling you how. See them as foreign to you. I'm just sharing it. It's not an order. I'm just suggesting, take a look at it. Yeah. We could not wish them away any more than alcohol. Yeah. This was our course. We realized that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick, though we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us. They, like ourselves, were sick too. Isn't this forgiveness coming about because you don't look at the person as personally, you see them as another person suffering from a spiritual illness? Yes? You see how much the personalness causes most of this shit, or let's say gives life to more of this shit? When you can see it in a different light where you could never find forgiveness will be available. Yeah. Yeah. So we ask God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry, thy will be done. So basically, this is the getting to the fourth column of the inventory. Yeah. So this blocking us off from the sunlight of the spirit is pretty big. So we found that it is fatal, for when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. Yes. Yeah. Can't serve two masters at the same time. If you're harboring the spawn of Satan, you can't be. You can't be honoring the enlightened transcendence. Yeah. Spawns of Satan. Just see the difference between resentment and my resentment. It's huge. Yeah. Resentment, feeling it. My resentment, harboring it. That's the way it goes. Yeah. Feelings come and go. Harboring stay, eh? And when you harbor something, it can stay for quite a while. Yeah. How are you harboring these feelings? You're calling them yours. You want to know how you're harboring it or how it's happening? You're calling them yours. That's inviting them in. Yeah. And then you're the incubator. The shit grows. You know, like in one of those greenhouses, things grow, and then the greenhouse of the higher power, we outgrow the shit that grew. Yeah. We're not harboring the feelings that shut us off from the sunlight of the spirit. So we're responding to the sunlight of the spirit. Yeah. And we outgrow fear and we outgrow resentments and we're reborn. Yeah. But if you keep harboring the feelings, yeah, that those feelings harbored are going to act as a screen or a curtain that's going to block you off from the sunlight you severely need. Yeah. And there is a role we play. We are the harboring and we are permitting. Yeah. So maybe through knowledge, you can recognize what you've been harboring isn't yours. Yeah. And let them be removed. As it says in the 6 and 7, I'm entirely ready for you to have all of me, the good and the bad. Well, get ready for that garage sale. All you got to do is open up the garage. The higher power will go in there and see what it wants to get rid of or buy. Yeah. You don't have to point anything out to it. Just let it in. Let it in. Yeah. This is when we should break out in the Aquarius song. Let the sun shine in. But I can't because I'm harboring ill will. Do you call it your ill will? Yes, there you go. That's the harboring. Is ill will gonna come? Yes. Is ill will gonna go? Yes, unless you harbor it. Yeah. How are you harboring it? You're not doing it, but the head's calling it yours. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Have you ever really remembered anyone else's resentments for 40 years? Have you? Have you ever spent 40 years remembering someone else's resentment? Probably not. Every resentment that has had a long life in you is preceded by the word my. Every one of them. Yes. You're the surrogate mother. You're mothering them. What? Yes. And they're going to have a voice. They are. Sooner or later. To this, they say the danger of this is it's going to lead you to drink again. Wow. I've seen a lot of people go out after 20 years. I wonder if they were harboring something that wasn't them and giving it permission. Yeah. And suddenly, maybe the curtain that blocked them off from the sunlight of the spirit had a big picture of them on it. And they got absorbed in the story of them instead of the story of us. Who knows? But it was as surprising to them as it was to me when they went out. A number of these people. Yeah. I just heard about another person. I was very fucking surprised because he was being used quite a lot. He was a very inspirational speaker. And I had to like sort of question to make sure it was the person I remembered. And they said yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he had the spirit coming through him. I could sense it when he talked. So, yep. If you're interested, look up the word permit and harboring. Check it out. Yeah. So, because the statement is more important with the word harboring than the feeling. The feelings come. Everyone has feelings, but how many people are harboring certain feelings? Yeah. All right. Anyone, Mike?
No, if anybody has any questions or would like to share on this topic, just raise your hand. You know, for me, Paul, it says to the precise extent that we permit these. You know, it wasn't until you and we talked that like I was like, I'm not permitting these. There's no way. Like, why would I fucking do that? And then do I squander the hours that might be worthwhile? I'm good at squandering shit, but I didn't know that my life was worthwhile to squander. You know,
Yeah.
and the difference for me, the game changer was that, you know, that I could, when you said that I could see these as foreign and without knowing it. Oh, without knowing it, a lot of shit's happening. I mean, a lot of shit.
Yes. Yes.
And I don't even know it. And it's even happening right now as we talk.
That's exactly right. See, that's the thing, though. Without knowing it, we have permitted this. Now you can't say without knowing it. Literally, a lot of shit happens in us without knowing it as the starting sentence, right? That thing we read in on page 53 a lot. It says it exactly. Let me go back there. It says, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. Yeah. It was called faith in self. Yeah. Trusting finite self is what brought us to these situations. What? And it did it without us knowing it. Exactly. Yeah. So without knowing it, we've given something permission. Yeah. We've permitted something to sort of basically take over. Yeah. And its takeover looks the same in everyone it takes over. So obviously, it's not a unique, special one that takes you over. The terminal uniqueness is part of its little poison pill, but it's not unique at all. You're just a run-of-the-mill alcoholic and addict. Yeah. You think and do and feel the same shit everyone else who's been had this fucking thing sit on them for so long. Yeah. Yeah. So this idea of without knowing it is very, but the harboring, that word really got me today. Because again, it says, for when harboring such feelings, that's a very, probably they thought about that sentence. Yeah. That's just not a throwaway using the word harboring. Because if you know what harboring is, it's giving shelter to things. Yeah. It's like the boats come into the harbor to get out of the storm. Yeah. Yes. You ever see in one animal, a cat that becomes the mother for mice babies? Yeah. You ever see those videos occasionally? You never know what happens. It usually probably eats the babies later. But, you know, it's unbelievable. But in a weird way, our teats are being sucked by resentment, mental anxiety, and shit like that. Yeah. The zest of our living has been taken. And we get a sort of stale interpretation. And in that interpretation, in a weird way, we're right for some fucking that should be able to satisfy you on every level, but it doesn't. Yes. Yeah. So I'm painting it dramatically so that maybe you can see the subtlety of it. But it's almost like we're an incubator. Yeah. Something happens. The reaction is you resent that happening, and then it gets called yours, and then it gets put in the incubator, and your life warms it. Yeah. You being existing now warms it and gives it an existence in a weird way. Yeah. And this bond to it is we believe it's ours. Yeah. We believe it's my resentment and my fear. This is what can be changed, that belief. Yeah. You can, if you get to the exact nature of the wrong, you'll see how the wrong harbors itself in the feelings. Yeah. Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see a foreign parasitical movement, and recognizing it as not you, it opens up a huge opportunity that you can be free from it. And usually if you had to do an inventory on you as you are right now, it wouldn't be fearless because you want to hide a lot of shit because it may be unbearable to tell the truth about certain things about you. But when you see that you as not you, you can do a fearless inventory. You can actually tell the truth about it because it's not you. Yeah. Yeah. So to me, this is the key that we're offering because I didn't see it being offered in the community I am in here. And I believe the key of the exact nature of the wrong is very, very potent part of recovery. Yeah. Yeah, I do. And instead of harboring the feelings of resentment, you'll be harboring the feeling of ease and comfort and serenity and gratitude and service. Yes. You're going to be an incubator of something. You are. Yes, you are. Why not harbor the feelings of the problem does not exist for me anymore? Why not harbor those feelings? And instead of being fatal, they'll be the increasing of your experience of life. Yes? Some things in you will flourish, not decay and die. They'll flourish. Yeah. So we have an ability to harbor stuff. So let that stuff we harbor be brought to us by the higher power. Yeah. And let the higher power dictate what should be harbored and what should not be harbored. Yes. And give it the permission by the third step to the higher power to take over the marina, so to speak. Yeah. And harbor what feelings it wants and promote whatever it wants. And I'm definitely, when you take a review every once in a while, you're much the better for it. Yeah. You're much the better for it by turning over the reins of ownership and managerial responsibilities. You'll just travel lighter and it'll look a lot better. Yeah. Yeah. And you'll know it. Instead of the head has to have you in a state of without knowing it. The spirit will have you know it. Yeah. You will be able to enjoy peace of mind. You will feel that new power flow in. It's not going to be hidden. Yeah. You're going to sense a conscious presence. So you're going to leave self-conscious into a higher power conscious. Yeah. That's the process. This is the process. Yeah. This process, of course, the target is you have to stop drinking and using, but it has much greater plans for us. It has much greater plans. It has a plan of being freed from the bondage of self. Yeah. That's what the steps are. The steps are to have an awakening, to wake up from the bondage of self. Yeah. Now an essential a requirement, which is to not drink and use. But after that, the attention is mostly about bringing about a spiritual awakening to our condition. Yeah. Yeah. And upon having that spiritual awakening, then we adopt the 12th step of being willing to help other people to achieve sobriety and try to practice these principles in all our affairs. And when you can't do it, limit your affairs for a while. Yeah. And then you just live step 12. Yeah. And then you incubate acceptance and things grow in you that really in the beginning were quite foreign to me. When I looked at them, I never called them mine. I readily call a resentment mine, but acceptance, no. Acceptance was like a vague atmosphere I wasn't used to. Like I was not used to. And a lot of the shit that showed up, had no idea. I wasn't used to it at all. Yeah. Yeah. Resentment has power over you when you call it yours. Spirit doesn't need to be called anything. It's already has power over us all. It's just a formality saying I permitted spirit to come in. It's already been in. Yeah. So, yeah. I'm stoked today. Thank you for the reading, Mike. He's got me
Well,
all jazzed up again. Woo!
our friend Mike has a question, or he has his hand up. Excuse me. Come on in, Mike.
First of all, the Matrix analogy is so good because I just picture like laying there while this energy is getting sucked out and just like tweaking in the bed, and that's how it is throughout the day when if I'm completely dominated by this mental anxiety that creates literally the physiological effects in the body. So I really like that analogy. And I wanted to read this. Harboring to keep a thought or feeling, typically a negative one, in one's mind, especially secretly. And I think the secrets that I was holding on to is what fueled relapses and coming in and out for so many years. So to be able to write this from this entirely different angle, and they say we should look at it from an entirely different angle, really made inventory a breeze because I wasn't taking ownership of all this. I wasn't beating myself up for every single column of those 4 columns that I wrote in the inventory. So I see why so many times I got stuck in inventory is because I was bearing the cross, harboring all this stuff because I thought I was the doer of it all. And the explanation you make about, being accountable and not being responsible, at first I was like, no, that sounds like some dope fiend shit. Like we're trying to get out of this. But it makes sense now. Like I don't need to explain to somebody the difference between accountable and responsible. I go up and make the heartfelt amends based on what I've seen it do to me, based on what I've seen living out of self has done to me and others. And it just makes it so much easier because I don't want to walk away from an amends still feeling guilty and shame based, because that's what writing inventory out of self does, right? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it was really me and I got to change me. And hopefully this amends will change me. And it's just swirling the drain back into the rabbit hole of self. So I really appreciate it. This is a good one today. I'm glad we're speaking about resentment.
And remember, in program, it's take responsibility first, and then you may see something other than you as accountable. Yeah, this is not about just going to accountability. You do the
Right.
process of the inventory, you look at your role in things, and then you will see something. Yeah. And
Yeah, I think it's
hopefully you're
baby
just sharing
steps.
a pair of glasses so that you will see it because it's
Right.
really there, but it usually hides without us knowing it. So, yeah, and then the accountability. This is not about bypassing responsibility. It's
No,
adding another wave in the set of waves, yeah, which is accountability. Yeah, yeah. So,
absolutely.
and this, I think, is, people are going to bring more stuff to this situation. I believe recovery is ready and able because the shore is so strong. They allow the big wave of the set to come in, which is accountability. Yeah, to see the foreignness of what has defeated you. I do. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Yeah. And if you don't like it and you don't think whatever you think, that's fine. This isn't like, everyone has to get this tattoo on Monday and it's got to be blue ink. No, that we're just here humbly having a couple of talks on a Zoom platform. And if you're interested, check it out. If it leads to some traveling lighter, fantastic. Yeah. I just don't, I just share what happened with me. I was handcuffed by the identification as self. I couldn't get out of self as self. I just couldn't. Wasn't working. Yeah. And when I saw that self was foreign to me, the possibility of being free from it became readily available. And I've been involved in that freedom for years now. Yeah. It was one of those dam breaking moments in recovery. I didn't know how much water was being dammed by this identification as self. It was really unbelievable. And when that dam was, first of all, the possibility that there was water behind there became available. That I didn't need the dam. The dam was not of me. That really was unbelievable. And it has played out. That happened around my 30th year, my 6th year of sobriety, pretty much. So for the last 30 years, it's been like skiing downhill mostly. And I've had terrible physical things and stuff, but all these terrible things are so forgotten in this moment. And just the joy and the alertness of life as in the here and now is the dominant thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's so powerful sometimes, satsangs, no matter what, even physical things are forgotten in the hour that you're here. And then maybe when you go back into whatever you were doing, that attention goes back to the pain or something. But having an absence of it is a really incredible bit of knowledge. Yes, it is. Because you think everything is so real, but if you got interested in something else right now, you would forget its reality for the next 2 hours or 3 hours. How real is it if it can be so easily forgotten? Yeah, these things start eroding your false platform. They do. The self has nothing to stand on, really. It really doesn't. It's on shaky grounds all the time. You just have to stand there and check it out. Yeah. Yeah. Because it says it's afraid of its collapse, and then you take that to mean your collapse. It's not your collapse. When self collapses, you do not die. You don't. It's actually a momentous moment in your life, literally. It's all the bugling is fear, 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 but it's a hallelujah, actually, when you go through it. It really is. Yeah. Yeah. But something's describing its condition, and we're taking it to be a description of our condition. That's the act of being identified as self. Self is telling the truth when it says my resentment, because resentment is a manifestation of self. But we believe when it says my resentment that it's our resentment. See, this is the act of being identified as something other than you. Yeah. What it says about its condition, you adopt as your condition. It's not true. It's not true. Yeah. This is going to kill me. How many things have you heard this is going to kill me said about? And here you are. So I guess it was fucking wrong. Yeah. This person is an asshole. And then you find out they're not. Well, oops, sorry. Yeah. This is about contempt prior to investigation. It loves to live in that condition. Yeah. You don't give life a chance. Yeah. So let's permit the retaking of our space by the higher power. Let's harbor the higher power's attributes instead of the self's attributes. Yes, why not? Yeah. Let's joy and comfort and gratitude and the urge to be of service. Let that be harbored. Why not? I swear. I mean, you're going to pass away. Like, I'm older now, and do you want its story of regret to be so bogus you won't even buy it for a second? Yeah. Don't give it any fuel for the final editorial before you go. Don't let the head write the opinion piece. Don't let it. It's going to write one, but I'm so happy you will not be listening to it. And you'll go out in a joyous transcendent burp of life. Yeah, bang. Yeah, yeah. All the terrible things you did have been washed off. Yes, nothing. You can't, there's no lasting tattoo here. There's no lasting tattoo. It's all gets erased. We're harboring these things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What does it say? Like the old ideas, if you don't let go of the old ideas, which is a harboring, right? An old idea is an idea that has been harbored. So we've been harboring these old ideas, and the result will be nil unless we let go of them. Yeah. Let them go out to sea. Yeah. Literally. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, anyone else today?
No, we have no hands up right now, Paul. So I appreciate this. I really do. I really appreciate you taking your time to come and join us.
Hey, honey, I'll call you right back. I had to get off. I had to tell her the higher power called. I had to call her, get the phone call. The higher power called Amelia. All right. Hey, all right. Let's say Mike M. Nice to see you as always, bro. Let it just soak in and marinate. Kerry. There he is, driving. Don't look down. Keep your eye on the road there. Michael Stacy, as always. Rico Cruz. This was a banger. I like this one. I like the other one with the steps, the taking the steps and the steps take you, and then yeah. Because you can get the feeling of the solution is different than the feeling of the problem's idea about the solution. Yeah, the solution doesn't demand any requirement. Marl, nice to see you, honey. Everett N. Everett N. Take care of yourself and ask that power that directs us if you're meant to be directed somewhere else than where you physically are. Nicholas Bohr, nice to see you, Nicholas. Yep. Oh, she's in a good location. She's laying down. Rico, Roman Mueller, the radiator. It must be almost November. Melody in Phoenix. Nice to see you, Melody. We've got Miss Volkman. Yeah, she's got everything. She's prepared. Joseph, nice to see Joseph. Julia, our friend in the Hudson Valley. Nice. You all right, Julia? All's well? Oh, great. We got Axel, our friend from Germany. Had a pleasure to meet Axel. Oliver, Berlin. Nicholas, we've seen you. Let me see. I can't get the other page, but hey, thank you so much. Very, I've lost a number of you, but let's see. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for holding the space. It's very nice. Yes. Adios. See you Saturday, if you like. We have a Saturday meeting at 1 o'clock Pacific time, America. It's a live meeting in Zoom. So, all right. See you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for your.
Yeah, welcome. Thank all of you.